This is Three Dog.
How can I help?
Andy Borkowski here for VGS, the video game radio show where I try to convince the world to play and listen to and talk about Mass Effect games. If you followed us at all in the past, the only reason we have any success is because so many people saw our videos for Dragon Age Inquisition way back when, and it really propelled us. And I used that to, talk to some of the guys that made this. I had a leg up because I got to work for a radio station, a media outlet that had access to these people. I'm speaking with someone today that didn't have that leg up. He just had to work. He just need to actually talk to these people to make it happen. BioFan, you probably know him on YouTube. He gives you your Mass Effect news that you so desperately need, and has actually done some interviews with developers. So thanks, man, for coming on our first Skype talk here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
All right, so you're here for a reason.
Yes.
Not just so we can chit-chat about the things we love, but also chit-chat about the things we hope we will love. You've been following so much Mass Effect Andromeda news, like crazy.
I wake up thinking about Mass Effect Andromeda, and I go to bed thinking about Mass Effect Andromeda.
There you go.
So, yeah, you could say that.
So it's something that is on your mind. I love that. This weekend coming up, because we're filming this during the week, hopefully it'll be up before any news comes out. This weekend is EA Play, the EA version of E3. It's going to be huge. They're definitely going to show Mass Effect Andromeda.
They've confirmed they'll be doing something, but they haven't confirmed what exactly they'll be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's EA Play is kind of like the EA outlet of the E3 festivities, kind of. And I kind of describe this weekend to, like, my friends and family as, like, the Super Bowl of my career. Like, the most important Sunday of, like, the entire year.
The one benefit is it's likely that we'll have the big news on Sunday, and then if it's playable or anything else like that, maybe bits and pieces throughout the week. So we probably have to work our hardest this coming Sunday. But, do you think they'll actually have something playable?
Well, I know under the list, when people signed up for the EA Play tickets, Andromeda wasn't listed under the games that would be playable. Mm-hmm. But the thing about BioWare is they're very we're going to be very secret about this and surprise everyone. Mm-hmm. So if it is playable, they might have asked not to be put on the list and be just like, surprise! But I think for sure they're going to have a trailer. That's always a given with any kind of E3 thing. They had it back when it was barely walking in terms of development time. So I think that they even had bits of the new IP when it was barely even crawling. So I'd say you're probably going to have at least a trailer. I would pretty much, if you were going to bet, I would say that a trailer would be super safe bet. But I also really think that by this point, if they're going to release by EA's Q4, which ends in March. EA has a weird quarter system. It ends in March of 2017. Mm-hmm. So, and BioWare's done March releases before, so it's not anything new for them. But I think if they're going to be that, under a year in terms of release, then they're definitely got to have some sort of demo. If they're that close to release, almost everything has to be done. So I would say that a demo would probably be pretty likely if they're doing a big presentation. And Sunday is just for EA, I think, isn't it?
In terms of their, they have and then I think Bethesda has something at midnight, but EA is going to have most of the day.
So that actual day, okay. So then if it's just EA that day, instead of back in the olden days of last year and behind that, they had a lot of developers going on the same days, different presentations. So I think they might get maybe more time now, possibly, if there's less presentations to compete with. So I guess they could potentially have more time to show a demo. They've shown demos at past E3s. I know for sure they've shown it at Gamescom, which is in August.
We've definitely seen some Mass Effect goodness at E3s before.
And Dragon Age Inquisition demos too.
Course,
yeah.
So yeah, it's very likely that we're going to see, we know we're going to see something about it. You're saying it might be a demo, maybe not. This week on the show...
Well, they have to show gameplay in general. Like, they have to show it in some fashion. So I think a demo would be the best way to get people excited. Because right now, we still know, like, next to nothing about the game. We still haven't seen much of anything of the game. We have, like, one real trailer and two kinda-ish trailers.
Yeah.
So
no actual gameplay, nothing even close to seeing how
nothing
a character interacts
totally in game. Yeah.
Well, I guess my question: you think there'll be a guy or a girl standing on the stage with a controller in hand playing this game?
I think there will be. Well, typically what they do is like they have Aaron Flynn, who's their head, presenting what's going on the screen, and then kind of like over in the corner is the person with the controller. But like they've done it 1,000 times to like.
You think it'll be that? You think it'll be?
Yeah, that's typically what they do for demos. Is they have like the head of the company is presenting what's going on the screen, but someone over in the corner is playing it. That or it's pre-recorded. One of the two.
Well, I was talking about before on this week's show. We have this guy. You probably know him. This Twitter insider. I think his name's Shinobi.
You landed him on your show?
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
He's coming on today. By the time you see this, you'll probably see the interview. And he
I'm gonna watch that for sure.
That it's an insider. There you go. That's how things work. He claims that he has like seen it and has some great stuff to show. So we're gonna try and get as much info out of him as we can. But as you know, because you follow him a lot too, he doesn't just give it away.
I have no idea like who he is
I know.
or how he's this much of an insider, because like he's friends with the developers, I'm pretty sure, and like he knows things. So I'm like how do you know things?
He's not telling me. I'm not getting his email. I'm not getting his any real information. He's gonna call us on the line that's blocked on the radio station. So it could be a great prank, but in the past he has given us insider info, so hopefully he'll give us something, or we could just wait 2 days,
I'm really wondering if he's even on NDA, because he shares things.
But, okay, we talked about the speculation about what they'll be doing. As for the game itself, though, the actual title, Mass Effect Andromeda, you've been following the news a lot. What are you thinking, just in the shortest amount of words, what that game is right now with the information we have?
Fucking fantastic.
Okay, all right. So fucking fantastic is what we have.
But I think because what they're trying to do is obviously anyone that's ever heard of Mass Effect or been pretty involved with it has heard kind of the controversy about what happened with the ending of the third game. So I think what they're really trying to do is move away from that, kind of get you to forget that even happened, and just like show you, like basically just show you this new amazing thing that is still Mass Effect, but is this entirely new, clean slate, different story, but also something that's they're trying to make a game that's even better than what they've done before. They're trying to improve upon what they've done previously and create a better story. So they're trying to show something that's going to be hopefully Game of the Year material, and a story that will go along with Mass Effect in terms of themes and character races and all sorts of kind of things like that. Like, it's still Mass Effect in terms of story, but it's going to be a different view, kind of, if that makes sense.
Well, what you have the news, you have the info. What do you think the story is based on what we have seen so far and what you've been able to just twist out of little bits of info? What do you think it is?
Well, we'll be starting kind of as someone that's not a Commander Shepard type character. Like, we aren't super well known, we aren't a hero yet, and the story is gonna take our character, and obviously there's gonna be some plot twists, and put them out on this journey to become someone who's important, someone who's very heroic. But also at the same time, the story is going to focus on humanity. But I guess there's also other races included. But it's going to be kind of... We've left the Milky Way. We don't know when yet, other than the story takes place after Mass Effect 3. But we don't know if we left before that, what's the Reaper situation. But the story itself in terms of what little we know so far, will probably... I mean, most BioWare games have this... I mean, most BioWare games, and also most video games in general, have this overarching theme of, like, becoming a hero, uniting different groups, solving a problem. With Andromeda, I think it's going to be an introduction to a bigger arc, because I don't think that they're going to stop just at Andromeda. I think that EA can obviously see, like, this is a franchise that makes a whole hell of a lot of money, so they're going to continue on from it. And we know we're going to see just a chunk of the Andromeda Galaxy, but the Andromeda Galaxy itself is... Scientists debate between, like, 2.5 to, like, 10 times the size of the Milky Way in terms of stars. And then in mass, it's about, like, 10 times larger. So, like, a chunk of Andromeda could be the exact same size as the Milky Way. So we'll have a lot more to explore, and they want to focus more on exploration because the Frostbite engine is built to have these big, wide open areas. Hopefully they use the space a little better than they did in Inquisition. I felt it was pretty side quest focused, not enough kind of main juicy story.
Not a fan of the hinterlands?
Not a fan of, like, maybe 50% of the hinterlands, but, like, the other 50%, because for me, I'm also a writing major, so I view the story pretty critically. Is critically a word? I think
critically you might have been.
Critically, yeah, there you go. I've not had a lot of sleep. I'm a student. I had an exam this morning. But, so I like how they did side quests that made some sort of difference to the environment or some sort of difference to characters.
I'm following what you mean there. The idea that you can do something and
that affects the area.
Yeah, I think that's what why BioWare is really great. If you can do something now that affects characters and that affects, like, the world around you, the ecosystem, the architecture as well. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, in the hinterlands, one good example is, like, when you build those guard towers in the hinterlands, like, there actually are guard towers there with people, like, next to them, manning them. So that's one difference I actually like. Even though it's technically side quest, side content, it's still something that I find fulfillment out of, instead of, like, oh, someone stole my insert item here. Please go get my insert item here from insert bad guy here. So something, I think Inquisition was their first game in the Frostbite engines, and they made a whole hell of a lot of advancement in just the engine itself. Like, they weren't supposed to be able to have mounts, but they figured it out.
Yeah.
So I think that now they've gotten the feedback of their first attempt at using the Frostbite engine and feedback on how everything was received, and they'll try and maybe make that a little better with Andromeda. Because there are overlap of people that worked on Dragon Age, people that worked on Mass Effect before. There's even people that are from BioWare Austin working on it. So you have a whole bunch of people. Like, it incorporates all their studios. So they have pretty much, like, everyone on it.
Before we get into sorry about that. Before we get into, like, exactly what you want from this next game, how do you feel about the fact that so many of these great minds that kind of crafted a lot of these BioWare games have kind of since went on? We still have Patrick Weeks, who I think is a visionary, one of the greatest guys that makes video games right now. I think he's a brilliant writer, but he's not with the Mass Effect stuff. David Gator's gone. He was the writer with Dragon Age as well, pushing in that way. And a lot of the big people that we enjoyed, Drew Karpyshyn, he's the guy that originally invented Mass Effect. He's doing Star Wars stuff, I think, where you are actually, in that area. So a lot of these guys have moved away from this IP of Mass Effect. And you're a writing major, someone that really appreciates the nuanced storytelling. There's not a little bit of you that's a little bit worried?
I mean, a tiny little bit, but the majority of me knows that in terms of the gaming industry and in terms of technologically related industries in general, there's a lot of turnover because the industry continues to grow so fast that someone who's working on a video game could be picked up and headhunted by another company. And at the end of the day, these are working people They have families to support. If you get a really good job offer, then you're probably going to take it. But at BioWare in general, they have a huge number of people that have been there for like 20 plus years. People that have been there for longer than I've been alive. So people that have been there since the very beginning. I'm 21, by the way.
Okay, so let's get into, because we are running a little bit out of time here, taking a little bit longer than I thought.
Sorry.
Sunday's gonna hit. It's gonna hit us soon. What do you want this game to be?
I want it to still feel like Mass Effect, and they keep saying it will be, so I don't think we'll have any trouble there. But I want it to.
What does that mean? It still feels like Mass Effect to you?
This, just like how you go into space, but you make like a difference, and you have these deep, enriching characters and these storylines that just immediately get you hooked. Like you can't not put the game controller down. Like you have to keep playing, and the story just sucks you in. And the story is emotionally hurts you and makes you happy, and you enjoy the whole entire thing, even if you're crying at the end. Like that just emotional quality that BioWare produces in their games, through their characters, through their storylines. Like that, to me, is Mass Effect. But it's also Dragon Age, but it has different kind of...
There's definitely a difference, yeah. There's a different
difference in the themes and the tones, but... To me, I think Andromeda is going to feel really new, but at the same time have like nostalgia here and there to keep you kind of like, oh, this is still Mass Effect, but at the same time it's Andromeda. Like it's its own thing, but at the same time will still kind of veer back into the old, but in kind of like just kind of go back to what we loved previously.
That considering the how, like you said, the release date and how close it's coming up, that this Sunday they'll show us actual characters, that they'll see, we'll get to know the squad a little bit?
I think that they at least will show them. You may not know who they are. You may not know if they're squad mates or not, but I think they'll show a lot of characters. Because if you look back at Inquisition, they showed Iron Bull in like the very first trailer, and you had no idea who he was, other than he was a Canary. So I think if they do debut them, it will be either obvious or very unobvious, and you'll just have to find out. But we've always known who most, if not all, the squad mates are by the time the game is released. So I'd say it's probably more likely it'll be obvious on who the squad mates are. I'm really excited to see how they do in terms of like race matchup, because we're gonna have obviously races such as confirmed so far are the Solarians, obviously humans, Krogan, Asari have semi-confirmed, and Hanar kind of semi-confirmed, but I doubt that would be a squad mate. So I think they're going to have, obviously, some of the old races, a bunch of humans, but they're also going to have new races. So if they have new races, then we'll probably have squad mates from those new races. So it'll be interesting in terms of the trailer if they show the new races or not. That could be something I think they might save to a little bit closer, since it's pretty juicy. But I think that they're definitely going to highlight the protagonist. I feel like we're going to find out who at least the male vocal lead is. I would like to also know who the female lead vocal is at the same time.
Hale again?
I don't... that woman's got one hell of a range, so I think she could do it, and she could do it, like, knock your socks off amazingly. Like, that's Jennifer Hale? That's FemShep? Whoa. But at the same time, I think that they typically pick different leads every time, just to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, especially if this is a world in which they pay reverence and respect, likely, to what happened with Commander Shepard. It'll be kind of odd if it's just like, hey, I'm exactly the same person. I sound very, very similar.
That Jennifer Hale has a range longer than a rainbow, she'll probably be in the game to some capacity. She'll probably voice someone somewhere. I don't think she'll be voicing Shepard, because I think they're trying to kind of...
You don't think Shepard will be in the game? You don't think there'll be a Commander Shepard You don't think, well, not like as a character, obviously not, but that he won't, or he and she won't have some type of visual depiction and audio depiction. You don't think you'll hear a voice?
I think they'll be mentioned. I don't know if you'll hear a voice. Okay, the thing about...
I'm putting money down on that right now, sir. When the game comes out next year, once we see that, I'll send you a tweet and I'll say $5, head in my way.
I would be happier if you're right. I'd be totally fine with that. I just don't think it's super likely because they're kind of trying to move on from Mass Effect. But the thing about the N7-day trailer that got a lot of people like, oh my god, Shepard's going to be in the game. And I'm like, guys, no, they've said he or she is not. But the thing is, why they only did Jennifer Hale's voice is because around that time, this is my theory, it's not really confirmed, but it's pretty likely, is around the time they came out with the N7-day trailer to a couple months before that, in September, because the N7-day trailer was in November. So in September, the Trespasser DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition dropped. So I think because they had Jennifer Hale come in to do vocals for that DLC for Krem, that they were, and it was only... Krem had lines, but he wasn't like a main character. So I think since they were having her in for the studio anyway, they were like, hey, Jennifer, we have this awesome idea for this Andromeda trailer. Would you mind recording a few extra lines for that? And she was probably like, yeah, sure. So I think that's why the only reason we had Shepard's voice in that trailer to begin with. It's because Jennifer Hale was already booked for booth time.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. But
I would be happy for Shepard's voice to be there. I just think it's probably more of a mention. Yeah. I don't think visually it will happen because unless there's a direct import or some kind of like design your Shepard, but that's a little that seems like a little much to me.
So you focus a lot of your content on BioWare stuff. We get to cover a lot of stuff here for our radio show, but you love the BioWare games.
Yeah, BioWare is pretty much my focus. Yeah.
This Sunday is Christmas, Super Bowl, all this other stuff. We're getting close to it. What is the real feeling as someone that gives a lot of emotion into the work he does? How you feeling right now?
Excited and I would say definitely excited.
Search your feelings.
Search my feelings. I'm excited, but I'm also like, because we've had very little news up until this point, I'm still having to pinch myself to realize that it's happening. Like it's only a few days from now.
Yeah.
I mean, the morning of it will probably hit me, but until then I'm like, oh, we're still just waiting. But I'm okay with waiting because they're taking their time and using it wisely to make a kick-ass game. So,
is there anything they could do that would sound, because you're a big advocate for BioWare, is there anything that you're BioFan, for Christ's sake, is there anything they could do to kind of sour that a bit? We talked about what would work, what wouldn't.
I know that they said previously that exploration was going to be largely optional. One big fault I found with Inquisition is you were forced into doing the side quests, and I don't want to be forced into doing that. I want to kind of like do the main quest and then be, oh, over there, what's that? Distracted and go see what I thought was interesting. But with Inquisition, it was like you have to get power points in order to do the actual main storyline. You can't do quest per quest that leads into quest that then leads into quest. So I think that would be the major disappointment for me. Yeah. I mean, for Inquisition, while it had its faults, it was still a very enjoyable game. Definitely game of the year. Definitely a wonderful experience. So much fun. I've played like at least 1,000 hours by this point of Inquisition. So even if it does have that fault, I'll still play it. But I will be disappointed if they don't kind of make the side quests more optional and exploration more optional and have main story lead to more main story, you know?
Well, we shall see. We covered it here. You're looking for, and we're both looking for, an actual demo. See if we'll see that. Some video, some pictures of the Squadmates, some of the Mako, and maybe understanding a little bit of the plots. We'll see. We're going to chat again when this is done?
Yes. 1 sec. Let me grab my charger because my computer's on like 5%. Be back real quick.
Okay. Big thanks again to the BioFan. He had to leave, unfortunately. He exploded. Make sure you watch us this Sunday. coming up.